Yo, what is good YouTube? I'm Richie Kim, and today I'm going to be bringing you all the performance review on the Jordan 1 Take 5. If you all enjoy sneaker content just like this, do me a favor, hit that subscribe button down below, and also hit that bell notification button so you never miss another video just like this. But anyways, let's get right into it. As always, starting off with the traction, the Jordan 1 Take 5 features a pretty much herringbone traction pattern. It does change slightly throughout the shoe, but overall it is still a herringbone, and the traction in the shoe is actually really good. So up in the forefoot, you do have what I believe is a slightly different rubber compound than the rest of the shoe. At least in this color, you do have the semi-translucent red outsole, and then everywhere is a solid white outsole. And personally, I kind of feel like the solid rubber outsole is slightly tackier, but still, you know, the traction on here is really good. If you are playing on your clean courts, you're gonna have absolutely zero issues. You're gonna be able to stop on a dime. The traction is very good. And even on your dustier courts, I had zero issues with this traction, honestly. It does pick up some dust, and the dust can get clumped up sometimes, but a very quick wipe and you are going to be good to go. Honestly, I was really surprised at how this traction performed, because I think when I first started playing in the shoe, it was kind of okay. It wasn't the best bite or anything, but I think as the traction broke in, it definitely just got better over time. And yeah, you know, overall, this traction is very solid. So yeah, no issues with the traction. So moving on to the cushion, this is where I really don't like the 1 Take 5. I believe this is a full-length Phylon midsole, and you do have a 4-foot zoom unit. And yeah, you know, the cushion in here is just pretty damn stiff. It doesn't feel the stiffest to the touch, but yeah, you know, on feet, in the heel, you get very little compression in my opinion. If you are doing a lot of heel landings, I would say that you're going to feel that shock pretty damn quickly. So just watch out for that. However, in the 4-foot, you do have that 4-foot zoom unit, and it feels bouncy. It's not too bouncy. It's not like overly bouncy. It's not too little of a bounce. It's a very solid, subtle bounce. And I personally really like the way it felt. You actually have a shank plate that comes up into the 4-foot area, and you really feel like a spring in your step because of that shank plate, in combination with the zoom. So yeah, you know, the cushion in the shoe, definitely not my favorite, but hey, at least you do have that zoom unit in the 4-foot, which does feel pretty good. So moving on to the materials, the Jordan 1 Take 5 features a bunch of different materials. You do have this mesh, which basically encompasses like the front half of the shoe. Moving towards the back of the shoe, you do have this leather and like synthetic suede, or maybe this is even real suede, I'm not sure. But that pretty much wraps around the entire shoe. And then on top of that, you do have like these random layers of like this rubberized plastic, I guess. And yeah, you know, overall the materials from a performance standpoint, I really have no complaints. It does a great job in terms of the performance, and then in terms of the quality too. You know, I really don't have that many bad things to say strictly about the materials. It's cool that they added like these premium touches on a takedown model shoe. So yeah, you know, the materials lie pretty good over the foot, maybe a little too good, and I'll kind of get to that later. But yeah, you know, the materials on the shoe definitely are not bad. For a takedown model, I'm actually kind of impressed. So yeah, you know, material usage on the shoe is nice. Moving towards the tongue, you do have that continued mesh that you see on this toe box. I wouldn't say this is like the most padded tongue, but it's enough. If you do like to crank down your laces, you're not going to feel too much lace pressure. You do have these flat wide laces as well. One thing I will say though is if you do like to crank down like this upper layer, the way that this tongue interacts with like the side of the shoe, I do actually feel a little bit of pinching up near like, I guess my ankle. But as long as you don't like super crank it down, I didn't really have that issue. But if you do like to crank it down, you might run into a slight pinch. So moving on to the fit, this is where I personally had some issues. So the fit on this, I would say at least lengthwise is pretty true to size. However, it is narrow and it is very snug. There is a lot of padding in the shoe. And honestly, the way that this shoe fits reminds me of an old skate shoe. I did used to skate a long time ago, since I was a kid up until like early days in college. So yeah, I have a lot of time in all sorts of different skate shoes. And this particularly reminds me of skate shoes from like, I believe it's like 2005 to 2008 and maybe even before 2005. It kind of reminds me of, you know, like an old Etnies skate shoe or DC skate shoe. They're like pretty bulky and, you know, they just had a lot of padding. And this is exactly what this reminds me of. Here, I'll post a picture of like me doing a tray flip off a kicker. But yeah, you know, I did skate. So that is exactly what this reminds me of. It's very, very snug, a lot of padding. If you do have wide feet, you might want to go up a half size. As a slightly wide footer, I did have some pinching or some pressure, I guess, in this forefoot area. But if you do give it some time, I would say that the materials broke in and the pressure kind of went away. You can still feel it here and there sometimes. But yeah, just to be safe, if you do have slightly wide feet to really wide feet, you might want to go up a half size. If you guys have normal feet or narrow feet, I think going true to size is perfectly fine. Like I mentioned earlier, the materials do lie very nicely over the foot and everything is very well padded. So you are very snug in this shoe. But yeah, so fit for me, just because it was narrow, you know, not the best fit. But if you guys have normal narrow feet going true to size, you should be good to go. So moving on to the support, I had absolutely zero issues with the support in the One Take 5. You do have an internal heel counter. Like I said, there's a lot of padding in the shoe, so you actually are very supported. You do have some nice heel sculpting. I didn't have any heel slippage in the shoe. When it comes to side movement on the footbed, like I said, you have a lot of padding and you have these like nice premium-ish touch materials, which do a great job of making sure your foot is planted on that footbed. In terms of your lateral stability, you are covered. You have a very wide base and you have this lateral outrigger here as well to make sure that you are not rolling over on those hard lateral movements. And then in terms of that torsional rigidity and stability, you do have this shank plate, which is, you can see right here, and it actually protrudes up into the forefoot area as well. So this thing is very, very stiff. That might be a pro, that might be a con. I would say that personally, this is really, maybe even a little too stiff, just because it does extend up into the forefoot area. But yeah, you know, support-wise, really don't have any issues, but just be prepared for a very, very stiff shoe. So the One Take 5 retails for $135. For $135 overall, I would say that this is a very solid performer. The traction is great, support is great. The materials are pretty damn nice. The only cons for me is the fit, because this is narrow and I did go true to size as a slightly wide footer. So it was a little bit painful, but like I said, the materials do break in a little bit and it does get a little bit better for you wide footers. But just make sure you size up if you do have wide feet, because yeah, you're gonna have some pain up in that forefoot area. And then also, you know, the stiffness of the shoe, it is very, very stiff. And honestly, that stiffness really doesn't go away, at least in the forefoot, because that shank plate extends up into this forefoot area. So it is just very, very stiff. But because of that torsion plate, it does kind of propel you forward if you are like running, I guess. So if that is something that you like, then great. And then the last thing about this shoe that I didn't like, or you know, it could have been better, is the cushioning setup. The forefoot is fine, like the zoom is okay, like don't get me wrong, but the heel area, I just wish that there was a little bit more impact protection coming from this heel, because I would say it is fairly stiff. But yeah, if you all did want to pick up a pair of these, I'll leave a link for you down in the description box below. But that's pretty much it for this performance review. If you all like this video, do me a favor, hit that subscribe button down below and smash that thumbs up button for me, as it really does help me out. While you all are at it, check out these videos over here, and that's pretty much it. Until next time, peace.